My husband just had his rebirth, and he is already saying he wants to divorce me and marry his cousin. My mother-in-law was so scared she slapped him. Your cousin is already a noble lady in the palace. Are you trying to get us all killed by saying such treasonous things? My husband was stunned. He doesn't know that I had my rebirth 4 years before him, and I had already sent his cousin into the palace long ago. In my last life, my husband favored his cousin and tried every possible way to kill me. In this life, I'd like to see if he has the ability to harm the emperor. Oh, and he'll be even more surprised when he finds out I castrated him long ago. I was attending to my sick mother-in-law and had breakfast in her room. After the meal, my mother-in-law urged me to go back and rest. If I go back now, wouldn't I be the first one to discover my husband's corpse? I took my mother-in-law's hand. There is no hurry, mother. Your feet get cold at night. Let me sew a few pairs of sleeping socks for you today. My mother-in-law kept praising my filial piety and lamented how worthless my husband is. I smiled, hearing the sound of hurried footsteps outside the courtyard. My smile became a bit more genuine. But unexpectedly, the one who came running in, full of life, was my husband, Luo Yuzhang. I was startled, clenched my fists, and carefully tried to recall if I had made any mistake with the poison. Luo Yuzhang, however, just gave me a fleeting glance and ran to my mother-in-law, saying, "Mother, I finally know Cousin Wanwan is my true savior." Back then, Chu Ying stole Cousin Wanwan's credit, drove a wedge between Wanwan and me, and schemed to marry in. Now I will divorce Chu Ying and take Cousin Wanwan as my wife. I paused. I saw my mother-in-law, her face filled with horror, suddenly stand up and slap Luo Yuzhang. "Mother, even if you are angry, my determination will not change. If I don't marry Wanwan, I will never be happy in my life." Luo Yuzhang said stubbornly, covering his face. My mother-in-law pointed at Luo Yuzhang, trembling with anger, and all the servants in the room bowed their heads, not daring to breathe loudly. I quickly went over to help my mother-in-law by patting her back to soothe her. Luo Yuzhang remained oblivious. "Chu Ying, if you hadn't driven a wedge between me and Wanwan, I would never have given you a second look. It is useless for you to suck up to my mother now. If you know what is good for you, go and apologize to Wanwan." My mother-in-law finally caught her breath. "Shut up!" My mother-in-law glared at Luo Yuzhang, stamping her feet anxiously. "You rebellious son! Suwan has already entered the palace and become a noble consort. Are you trying to get our whole family killed now?" "What?" Luo Yuzhang's face was full of disbelief. "This is only the 7th year of Guangqi. Wanwan was clearly still because I didn't marry her," Luo Yuzhang asked. Hearing this, I was sure. Luo Yuzhang had been reborn just like me. It is just that. He was reborn 4 years later than me. I grabbed the vase and, with a crash, smashed it on Luo Yuzhang's head. Luo Yuzhang passed out. I fell onto my mother-in-law's lap, trembling and sobbing. My mother-in-law patted my hand and said to everyone in the room, "The young master had a momentary fit of hysteria. No one is to speak carelessly about what just happened." The servants all replied in unison, "Yes." After all, if word got out that he publicly said he wanted to marry a palace concubine and would regret it for a lifetime if he didn't, the Luo family wouldn't have enough heads to be chopped off. My mother-in-law looked at Luo Yuzhang on the floor again, a look of heartache on her face. I mumbled, "Your daughter-in-law was just desperate for a moment. What would I do if something were to happen to my husband?" My mother-in-law sighed. Although her heart ached for Luo Yuzhang, she could only say, "That wretch. It is all thanks to you for knocking him out in time." She glanced around and sighed. "Aying, you go personally and tell the gatekeeper to get a doctor. Don't bring any of the servants from this room." I nodded quickly, knowing my mother-in-law was going to discipline the servants. My steps slowed down after I walked out of my mother-in-law's courtyard gate. I held back when I hit Luo Yuzhang, knowing it wouldn't kill him. But I could take my time now. letting him hurt a while longer, bleed a little more, and become a bit weaker. For every bit of suffering he endured, I became that much happier. Just as I was thinking, I saw Luo Yuzhang's personal manservant rushing over. I asked what was wrong. The young servant suddenly found his backbone. The young master, he woke up early in the morning, suddenly started chanting that noble person's name, then asked me what year and month it was, and then suddenly ran off. I chased him with all my might, but still couldn't catch up. My face darkened. This matter is no small thing. Who in my husband's courtyard saw it? I took the young servant back to the courtyard, gathered all the servants who heard Luo Yuzhang's nonsense, and by the way, cleaned up the traces of me murdering him. When I returned to my mother-in-law's courtyard with the doctor, Luo Yuzhang also happened to be slowly waking up. He called out Wan Wan as if talking in his sleep. My mother-in-law stood up abruptly and slapped him again. I rushed over and grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. Mother, my husband is already in a lot of pain from his injuries. Mother, you should let the doctor take a look first. On the surface, I looked like I loved Luo Yuzhang to death, but in my eyes, there was only ridicule. After several years of rebirth, the love-hate entanglement between me and Luo Yuzhang should have been settled once and for all with his death last night. Unexpectedly, the him from this life died, and the him from the previous life was reborn here. Fine by me in the last life, he harmed my entire family. Letting him die so easily isn't enough to vent my anger. Luo Yuzhang and I were engaged since childhood. My family coveted the protection from his ancestors, merit of aiding the emperor, and his family coveted my family's immense wealth. Originally, I didn't mind that he had a cousin with whom he was mutually in love. Luo Yuzhang wants to keep beauties, and he can afford as many as he wants, as long as he properly upholds the family's prestige, gives me the dignity of a proper wife, and lets my family use the Luo family's prestige for support in the business world. After all, a powerful and noble young master in the capital, as stupid and easy to manipulate as him, is hard to find even with a lantern. However, Luo Yuzhang was in love with Su Wan and wanted to make her his proper wife, but he couldn't bear to part with my family's wealth. Before our marriage, he and Su Wan came up with a vicious plan to have mountain bandits kidnap me and ruin my reputation. Once I was too ashamed to be the proper wife. He would then graciously allow me to bring my huge dowry and become his concubine. I played along with their plan. I found out that Su Wan claimed to be Luo Yuzhang's childhood savior. So during the bandit chaos, I schemed for Su Wan to abandon Luo Yuzhang and escape by herself. Then I produced fabricated evidence to make Luo Yuzhang believe that his actual childhood savior was me. A rift grew between Luo Yuzhang and Su Wan. He sent her to a nunnery and happily married me. After we married, I had little affection for Luo Yuzhang. He could agree to a vicious plot to ruin a woman's reputation, and then cast aside the Su Wan he supposedly loved so deeply like a worn-out shoe, which just shows he is heartless, faithless, and without virtue. So I was always on guard against him. But an open spear is easy to dodge, an idiot is hard to guard against. 3 years into the marriage, Luo Yuzhang and Su Wan's old flame was rekindled. Seeing Su Wan suffer through 3 years of ascetic cultivation, Luo Yuzhang decided to be the hero saving the damsel in distress, punishing evil and promoting good. Kill me, seize my dowry, take over my shops and manors, marry Su Wan as the legal wife, and give the child in Su Wan's belly a legitimate and noble status. By this time, the Luo family had already been managed by me into an iron plate. Luo Yuzhang, Su Wan, and Luo Yuzhang's mother took turns plotting against me and doing bad things, but I blocked them all. Luo Yuzhang couldn't do anything to me, so he suddenly went crazy shouting in public that he was going to rebel and said a lot of treasonous words. He even said that my Chu family had been giving him money all along and was his accomplice in rebellion. He planned to use the extermination of 9 generations of his family to bring my Chu family down with him. Mi Chu family was severely damaged, giving up half of our fortune. just to beg the emperor to thoroughly investigate the truth and save the lives of our entire family. Young and old, however, Luo Yuzhang was dead set on me dying. After all, he had already contracted syphilis and wasn't going to live much longer anyway. Before shouting about rebelling, he deliberately ate and lived with plague, stricken refugees for several days. When our whole family was imprisoned with Luo Yuzhang, we were infected with the plague by him. Later, my entire Chu family died of the disease. After death, all the bodies were burned to ashes, leaving no remains, carrying a monstrous hatred. I was reborn to the wedding night with Luo Yuzhang. After testing the waters, I found that I was the only one who was reborn. Therefore, I started planning from that moment on. A full 4 years, and on the very day I had finished all my revenge and poisoned Luo Yuzhang to death. His self from the past life actually had his rebirth. That is just perfect. A debt has its debtor, a wrong has its source. This time, I'll let him die knowing why. I looked at the still dazed Luo Yuzhang. The doctor bandaged the wound on Luo Yuzhang's head and whispered to my mother-in-law, "It is just a superficial wound. He just needs some quiet rest." However, young Master Luo can't take those potent drugs anymore, and he also needs to relax. His pulse is becoming very faint. My mother-in-law's face darkened. I immediately turned around to wipe my tears, using a handkerchief to cover the upturned corners of my lips. The doctor couldn't detect that Luo Yuzhang had been fatally poisoned. A year and a half after my rebirth, the concubines I took for Luo Yuzhang gave birth to children one after another, so he became useless. So I made Luo Yuzhang a waste down there. Luo Yuzhang was frantic at the time, looking for one beauty after another for stimulation, and also saw many doctors. From worrying about his reputation and secretly taking potent aphrodisiacs at the beginning, to later getting desperate and trying any cure, asking around for folk remedies, and even believing in the alchemy of wandering occultists. From eating too many strange folk remedies and elixirs, his body had long since been ruined, and his pulse was so chaotic that even the imperial physicians didn't dare say they could cure him. If Luo Yuzhang paid a bit more attention to himself at this moment, he would have carefully asked what the doctor's words meant. Too bad. Luo Yuzhang is very sensitive about others pointing out his inability. He flies into a rage the moment he hears it, and even beat a concubine to death in a frenzy. So the doctor only dared to give him subtle hints. Even my mother-in-law doesn't dare to touch upon this sore spot of Luo Yuzhang's, and would only privately ask me to manage him. Luo Yuzhang impatiently waved his hand to dismiss the doctor. "Get out. Get the hell out, mother. I have something to ask you." The imperial physician hadn't even closed the door when Luo Yuzhang asked, "Mother, cousin Wanwan." I covered my mouth. "Husband, watch your words. You must not directly call a noble lady by her maiden name." Luo Yuzhang stared at me menacingly. "Chu Ying, you venomous bitch, how dare you?" Smack. My mother-in-law slapped Luo Yuzhang again. Luo Yuzhang's eyes widened as he asked, "Mother, why do you keep hitting me today?" I quickly walked to the door and looked, then shook my head at my mother-in-law, signaling that no one was there. Only then did my mother-in-law scold him. "Luo Yuzhang, I've tolerated you disgracing the Luo family on a daily basis, but that Suwan has already entered the palace. No matter how reluctant you are in your heart, you can only let it go. Do you want your mother to lose her head along with you?" Luo Yuzhang abruptly sat up straight. "Entered the palace. Wanwan, she was clearly waiting for me. She said she would wait for me her whole life. I haven't even had a chance to be good to her. How did it become like this? Mother, you tell me why." I laughed to myself. When Luo Yuzhang first became impotent, a servant I planted gave him a tip. Have him look at various beauties, and maybe he'd have a reaction. Luo Yuzhang took the advice. He visited all the brothels, and I'd give him a bit of the antidote from time to time, making him better for a while, and then worse for a while. He still thought looking at beauties was effective, and got even more intimate with the top courtesans. I used this time to let Suwon return to the Luo family, letting Suwon see with her own eyes how many beauties Luo Yuzhang had said similar sweet nothings to. Suwon was heartbroken, and then learned that Luo Yuzhang was impotent. After weighing the pros and cons, she found that she had caught the emperor's eye and decisively entered the palace. Summono, who can't even handle household drama, going to take part in palace drama. Sigh, once you enter the palace gates, it is as deep as the sea. Me mother-in-law pinched me, signaling for me to explain. I pretended to say, husband, cousin Wan Wan. Luo Yuzhang glared at me. It must be you, you venomous woman. You were scheming against us even before the marriage. This time, Wan Wan not waiting for me must also be your scheme. Xu Ying, were you reborn too? What have you done since your rebirth? Luo Yuzhang struggled out of bed. Mother, I am from a rebirth. Listen to me. This venomous woman Xu Ying will harm our entire family. I threw my arms around my mother-in-law and said timidly, Rebirth, isn't that from the storybook written by that Taoist priest who swindled husband out of 3,000 taels of gold? Mother-in-law, has husband gone mad from trying to cure his impotence? Luo Yuzhang is still telling mother-in-law to be wary of me. Mother-in-law trembled all over and stumbled outside. Ying, you can't be so direct. Someone, come quickly. Before his rebirth, Luo Yuzhang would go crazy and hit people whenever he heard others say he was impotent. I also followed closely behind mother-in-law, walked to the door. And while mother-in-law was instructing the servant boy, I turned back and said to Luo Yuzhang, whatever happens with Suwon Luo Yuzhang, you have already become a natural-born eunuch in this life. Enjoy the surprise I gave you. The servant boy quickly locked the door and stood at the entrance with a big club. Looking at mother-in-law's pale face, I murmured to myself, how did my husband go crazy again today? Inside the door, Luo Yuzhang let out a high-pitched scream. Why, I actually can't get it up anymore. Impossible. Impossible. His voice was frenzied. Mother-in-law trembled. Ying, I thought you were steady. I didn't expect you to open Yuzhang's wound as soon as you spoke, forcing me to hide out here too. Also, Yuzhang just said you. Just then, the crisp sound of a vase shattering on the floor came from inside the door. Mother-in-law's expression changed. My Sijo green, glazed vase. I gave a sarcastic smile. Me husband is in mother-in-law's room right now, and everything he is smashing belongs to mother-in-law these past few years. I have deliberately treated my mother-in-law with the best food and drinks to butter her up. Although the Luo family had status before, they didn't have much money, so their life was only glamorous on the surface. It was after I came that my mother-in-law truly enjoyed a wealthy life. They all say it is easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but hard to go from extravagant to frugal. The sound of things being thrown and broken kept coming from the room. Mother-in-law's face was all wrinkled up, and she kept stomping her feet. I said softly, Mother, husband's temper is even worse than usual this time. If he is just smashing things, even if he smashes the whole room, the whole mansion, the worst that can happen is our family will live a poor life with him. But if he says those treasonous words again, it will implicate the whole family and we'll all be beheaded. When I said we would live a poor life, mother-in-law sighed repeatedly. She gritted her teeth. Yuzhang is confused. He must be locked up to prevent him from speaking and being overheard by others. Yinger, you can't be soft-hearted. Two highly skilled servants holding quilts rushed in. Luo Yuzhang shouted, Insolent, you let go of me. Soon Luo Yuzhang's voice disappeared, while my mother-in-law was looking at the mess on the floor with a pained heart. I stuck a handkerchief into the place where her pet raccoon cat usually relieves itself, wiped it, and then stuffed it into Luo Yuzhang's mouth. Luo Yuzhang gagged until tears came out, staring at me fiercely. His hands and feet were tied up by the servants, and now he was like a fish on a chopping block, only able to writhe his body, unable to make any waves at all. I shook my head. Husband, if I had known, I wouldn't have gone to buy that luli stuff, and that Taoist priest wouldn't have gotten the chance to trick you. My mother-in-law coughed lightly. A few days ago, I heard that a ship was about to bring a boatload of precious goods back to Dongzhou port, so I decided to go buy a birthday gift for my mother-in-law before I left. I asked my mother-in-law to look after Luo Yuzhong. My mother-in-law readily agreed. Then, just as I left the capital, my mother-in-law's favorite opera troupe was about to put on a new play that she couldn't possibly refuse. My mother-in-law was busy watching the opera, giving the fake Taoist priest a chance to trick Luo Yuzhang. My plan was that even if Luo Yuzhang died from the fake Taoist priest's elixir, the investigation must absolutely not trace back to me. My mother-in-law, afraid that the Luo clansmen would accuse her of being absorbed in pleasure and neglecting Luo Yuzhang, would definitely not dare to report the fake Taoist priest to the authorities. People with skeletons in their closets naturally stand together in covering things up. Digging for the truth would only expose themselves. So, just blinding my mother-in-law's eyes with wealth wasn't enough. I needed her to see herself as an accomplice in Luo Yuzhang's death. My mother-in-law sighed. Yuzhang, everyone in the Luo family, and your dozen-plus children, they all still need to live. Don't blame your mother for being cruel when you've calmed down. Mother will let you out. Luo Yuzhang's eyes widened again. In my last life, he only had 2 children with me. Later, Suwan became pregnant with one, but it was never born. My mother-in-law turned her face away. Simone, take the young master back to his room and lock him up. Just locking him in a room isn't enough. Luo Yuzhang will only behave if he is dead. I gave Luo Yuzhang a provocative smile. Sobbing, I said to my mother-in-law, Mother, in a few days it is Consort Wan's birthday. I suppose that is why my husband suddenly went crazy. I was thinking, I'll use the credit I've accumulated as an imperial merchant these past few years to ask Her Majesty the Empress for a favor, to allow Consort Wan to leave the palace once. No. My mother-in-law paled in shock. Absolutely not. After my rebirth, I've always been excellent at keeping up appearances. Everyone in and around the mansion knows that even though Luo Yuzhang is impotent, I still love him as if I were under a spell. Now my mother-in-law is terrified that I would really do anything to create an opportunity for Luo Yuzhang and Suwan to meet again. So she specifically ordered that I am not allowed to visit Luo Yuzhang. And for that reason, she had him specially moved from his comfortable courtyard to be locked up in a side room of the ancestral hall. At night, I brought a pot of medicine to the ancestral hall. The moment Luo Yuzhang saw me, he started squirming. In my last life, to prevent the spread of the plague, everyone who died from the disease had to be cremated. At that time, my mother wasn't completely dead yet. Once the fire was lit, she sat up from the pain, struggling more helplessly and painfully than Luo Yuzhang. So I directly poured the entire pot of medicine into Luo Yuzhang's mouth. His throat immediately developed many blood blisters. Luo Yuzhang kept dry, heaving, the veins on the side of his neck bulging, but he could only make hoarse sounds. He is mute. I won't give him another chance to speak. I am afraid he'll go crazy again. People like him, when pushed to a dead end, they don't care about anything and will drag everyone down to hell with them. So, it is safest for me if he just dies directly. Even if he doesn't die for now, I have to make it so his mouth can't speak, his hands and feet can't move, and his eyes can't see. Only a pair of ears to listen to everything I've done to him these past few years. Can only endure everything, but can't vent, can't resist. I deliberately put on a deeply affectionate act to get my mother-in-law to lock Luo Yuzhang in the ancestral hall. The side courtyard of the ancestral hall is usually empty, and accidentally, a nest of poisonous ants has settled there. I fed Luo Yuzhang water mixed with honey and ant poison, and now ants are already crawling on him. Watching the ants, I said, Luo Yuzhang, I sent Suwan into the palace on purpose. She truly loved you. Now she has entered the palace all alone, becoming the lowest ranking noble lady with no family background, no favor, bullied by everyone. Last winter, when dripping water turned to ice, she was punished by having to wash clothes with cold water. It was truly miserable. Luo Yuzhang's hands clenched. He raised his hand, wanting to hit me. I didn't hold back either. I grabbed a wooden stick and gave a fierce whack. Luo Yuzhang fell to the ground in pain. I smiled. If you kneel down, kowtow and repent, I'll tell you how Suwan entered the palace. The truth will definitely be heart stabbing. But Luo Yuzhang was suddenly reborn, knew nothing, and except for listening painfully and heart-wrenchingly, he had no choice. He unsteadily knelt down. I took out 2 spirit tablets from my sleeve. A hint of confusion flashed across Luo Yuzhang's face. On the spirit tablets were the names of my 2 children from my previous life, Yichuan Shiji. After my rebirth, I could save all the people who died unjustly because of Luo Yuzhang. Except for my 2 children. Luo Yuzhang kowtowed again and again. I said in my heart, Yichuan Shiji, I will make your father repay what he owes you with his life, so you can go and be reincarnated in peace. Perhaps Luo Yuzhang also felt guilty, and he knelt and kowtowed for a very, very long time. After a long time, I untied his wrists. He picked up a pen and paper and wrote, Yinger, I was wrong before, but you shouldn't have left Wanwan with no way to live, if you... I certainly wasn't willing to listen to his bullshit. I snatched his pen away. Luo Yuzhang, I drugged you and made you a eunuch. You are no longer a man. Suwan has also entered the palace, and in this life there is no longer any possibility between you two. She was indeed waiting for you at the nunnery, but I arranged some courtesans and concubines for you, so you had no time for her. So heartbroken, she voluntarily entered the palace. Oh, she also knows you are impotent. Not only did you lose her love, you also completely lost all affection and face in front of her. Luo Yuzhang checked his lower body in disbelief, and with no pen, he dipped his fingers in the blood foam from his throat, at one moment writing, vicious woman on the paper, the next Wanwan, and then asking about being a congenital eunuch. There was too much bad news. He couldn't keep up, and he was running out of blood water. I smiled. Before your rebirth, you had already tried many methods to treat your impotence. Now the entire capital city knows you can't get it up. Luo Yuzhang became even more agitated. I had to use a club to help him calm down. Right after his rebirth, even when he heard he was impotent, he still thought it could be cured. But now, I have shattered all his hopes, letting him truly experience the feeling of being struck by lightning. He wept bitterly, writing curses at me with his finger. I continued, your reputation is also completely rotten. Right after getting married, you forcibly took dozens of concubines, went to brothels every day. It was too absurd. Even the court historians wrote history books to curse you. Later, you became a natural-born eunuch, and to cure your illness, you ate toads and golden juice as treatment, becoming a piece of trash that everyone ridiculed. Yes, the historians recorded all of this in detail. The court historians are upright and just, not easy to bribe. So I helped his daughter, who married a heartless man, get a new life. But she refused to wake up and was still infatuated with Luo Yuzhang. This made the historians so mad that when he recorded history, he did everything he could to satirize Luo Yuzhang. I also secretly hired people to write a lot of storybooks, making up stories about Luo Yuzhang's methods for treating illnesses. Anyway, before and after Luo Yuzhang dies, countless people will know that he eats shit. I watched Luo Yuzhang, his face pale as he stuck his fingers down his throat, and taunted. Luo Yuzhang, now you can say you've made a name for yourself in the history books. Luo Yuzhang once had promising prospects. In my last life, even before we were married, I thought about how after the wedding, I would diligently manage the household, befriend titled ladies and noblewomen, and help Luo Yuzhang have a meteoric rise. After all, the higher he climbed, the greater the protection for our Chu family. Even later, when he tried to plot against my innocent reputation, after we were married, I still did what I had to for the bigger picture, and truly let him enjoy a period of smug success. In this life, I still remembered the poor scholars who passed the imperial exams in my past life, so I simply befriended them in advance, and by relying on my foresight, I gained the favor of the Empress. My sources of support grew, and I was no longer limited to the single path of clinging to Luo Yuzhang. But he was left with only one value to be used by me. In the past, people would say my Chu family was marrying up to him. But in the last 4 years, the tables have turned. And now everyone says, Luo Yuzhang is dragging me down. I looked at the wretched Luo Yuzhang with pity. When you had your rebirth today, you must have thought that you could definitely crush me under your heel. How stupid you are. I was reborn a full 4 years before you. I've taken all my revenge on you, the person you love, your reputation, your body. I've destroyed them all. In fact, if I hadn't poisoned you to death, your past self wouldn't have even been reborn here. Luo Yuzhang pointed at me tremblingly, with a look on his face like he wanted to kill me. I sneered. This is good too, letting you see my revenge with your own eyes. Luo Yuzhang wanted to say something more, but a few ants had already crawled along the honey soup to the side of his mouth. Luo Yuzhang's eyes widened in horror. The plague that Luo Yuzhang deliberately infected us with in our last life, when it flared up, would cause rashes all over the body, with an unbearable itch that couldn't be stopped even by scratching until it bled. The patient would unconsciously scratch their whole body open, and any place contaminated with the pus from the rashes would induce more rashes, harder to cure than smallpox. So, after my rebirth, I went through many books before I found this kind of poisonous ant that, after biting someone, would make them itch unbearably and their wounds fester. I said with satisfaction, "These sores look very familiar, don't they? After you die, a doctor will say you were infected with a plague. They will burn your corpse to ashes. Not even bones will remain. In the future, when your dozen or so sons want to visit your grave, there will be no place for them to go. You have brought complete disgrace to the Luo family, and no one in the Luo family will be willing to set up a cenotaph to worship you." Luo Yuzhang made sounds in his throat, struggling unsightly. "Can't take it already. Your body and reputation both destroyed. This is the ending you chose with your own hands in your last life." I leaned down, tightened my grip on the club in my hand. "Learning from past mistakes, I won't let you live for too long." I smashed Luo Yuzhang's wrist. He can no longer pick up a brush to write. It is actually a bit of a shame. I was quite curious to see what he would say after finding out everything I've done. But if he could still send messages out, I would be frightened and unable to sleep peacefully at night. I splashed some more honey water on Luo Yuzhang's body, and only then did I leisurely leave. The next day, early in the morning, I went to plead with my mother. In-law again. Mother, in-law. My husband hasn't eaten for a whole day. He must have calmed down this time, and will definitely not say any more reckless words that would offend the palace. Please let him out. My mother-in-law stared at the plain congee and side dishes on the table, rubbing her forehead. No, Yinger, you should go back. She then instructed the servants. Keep a close watch, and absolutely do not let the young mistress and young masters get a single step closer to the ancestral hall. I could only walk away, looking back every 3 steps, and heard my mother, in-law, instructing the servants to serve up some exotic delicacies again. I am a filial daughter, in-law. Every day when I see my mother-in-law, I advise her to eat lightly, eat and drink less, not to eat cold food in the summer, and not to eat spicy food in the winter. In this way, with delicious food available but not letting her eat it, if she wanted to enjoy herself, she had to give up on the rule of me paying respects to her every morning and evening. I gave a slight smile, returned to my courtyard, and put on a distressed look. Before long, my close friend from my maiden days, the historian's daughter Fan Rongyu, came to my door with a group of her girlfriends. Fan Rongyu's husband and his concubine bribed the midwife to make Fan Rongyu die in childbirth. I saved her and helped her punish the scumbag man and wicked woman. So she felt we were kindred spirits in misery. She didn't remarry and opened a shop with me. Now everyone outside knows that a few days ago, Luo Yuzhang took advantage of my absence to splurge 1,000 gold on medicinal pills. Today was supposed to be the day we calculate the shop's dividends, but I said I had something to do and wouldn't go out. She naturally got worried about me and brought many sisters to see me. Rongyu advised me, "Sister Ying, Luo Yuzhang is impotent. That should also count as him committing one of the 7 grounds for divorce. You should divorce him." I shook my head. My husband took the medicinal pills and spoke nonsense. My mother-in-law locked him up for a whole day and night. I am really worried he'll starve his stomach. Fan Rongyu said anxiously, "Why can't you just be a little more clear-headed?" Just then, a scream came from my mother-in-law over at the ancestral hall. I immediately ran out the door. Did something happen to my husband? Fan Rongyu and her group hurriedly followed me. I pursed my lips, a little excited to see what kind of storybooks would appear on the market later. In the past 2 years, the folk storybooks making fun of Luo Yuzhang have been selling very well. I don't even need to spend money to commission writers anymore. Even for the provincial graduates coming to the capital for the imperial exam, the more they could compose sharp verses satirizing Luo Yuzhang, the more they would be favored by the capital's noble ladies during the post-exam son-in-law selection. So there are plenty of people willing to step on him to seek fame and fortune. As far as I know, among the few sisters who came with Rongyu to see me, there is someone who has written a few storybooks. My mother-in-law wanted to use family matters as an excuse to make them stop watching the spectacle on their own. But the several sisters all pretended not to understand and stood uniformly behind me. My eyes were only on Luo Yuzhang. My mother-in-law stood in front of me, her eyes about to twitch uncontrollably. But I just roared, "Husband, you are so miserable. My heart truly aches for you." Luo Yuzhang's whole body had a lot of blisters and was crawling with ants. No matter how the young servants tried to clean him, they couldn't get him clean, so they could only splash a basin of water on him. Luo Yuzhang was in a sorry state, but he couldn't speak. At this point, the people present gradually pieced together the truth. Luo Yuzhang usually hid medicinal pills everywhere, and he had hidden one in a jar of honey in the ancestral hall. Last night, he knocked over the honey jar, accidentally attracting ants, and suffered for it. My mother-in-law sighed. What a wicked deed. She looked at me. He was her son after all, and she still felt sorry for him. I lowered my eyes. If my husband were living in his own courtyard, he wouldn't have suffered. Who could have known the ancestral hall was so secluded that it would actually have ants? My mother-in-law immediately shut her mouth. When it came down to it, she was the one who had locked her son in the ancestral hall. This time, after the doctor examined him, he said with difficulty, "The young master's throat has also been bitten by the ants. These ants are highly venomous, I am afraid. I am afraid he won't be able to speak again in the future." My mother-in-law was surprised for a moment, but then she actually showed a relaxed smile. Luo Yuzhang kept staring at the mother-in-law, and seeing this, he got agitated and started shouting, "Ah! Ah!" I supported Luo Yuzhang and said in a low voice, "Your mother has given up on you." I saw the doctor off, and then sent away Rongyu and her group, who had seen enough of the show. My mother-in-law's voice couldn't conceal her joy. Since it has come to this, it must be fate that Yuzhang can't speak. "Yinger, don't you be too sad. Just take good care of him," I responded. I brought Luo Yuzhang back to the room and looked down on him. How does it feel to wait for death? Concubines came to see Luo Yuzhang one after another, but no one dared to take care of him. After all, his temper had become very foul ever since he became completely useless. This time, Luo Yuzhang actually saw his dozen or so children. A spark burst out from his eyes again. I sneered. "When these children grow up, they will only call me mother and thank me for feeding and clothing them." They will also despise you for your absurd behavior and for implicating them in suffering. Oh, by the way, a few days ago I said that a side branch of my family wanted to adopt 2 children, and your concubines all came to me, each wishing their child could be rid of your surname, rid of a father like you. So what if you have countless bloodlines? No one will acknowledge you. No one will worship you. You'll still be without descendants. Luo Yuzhang couldn't speak or write. He could only glare at me with his eyes. I burst out laughing. Outside the door, my 2 children said, "Mother, we're back." I opened the door. "Son, you are back from your maternal grandparents' place. Did you have fun?" My 2 sons hugged my waist. "Mom, we were happy at first, but we heard Dad is causing trouble again." "It is all right." Luo Yushang suddenly twisted his body and fell off the bed. I comforted the 2 children and personally went over to help him up. "That is right, the 2 children are not yours." I was glad my rebirth happened on the day I just got married. I hated Luo Yuzhang to the bone, couldn't bear to consummate the marriage with him, and was absolutely unwilling to bear his children. Besides, I feared his extreme and vicious nature when dealing with matters. The old saying goes, like father, like son. I was afraid that even with my careful guidance, the children would still naturally be like Luo Yuzhang. So, while Luo Yuzhang was fooling around in brothels, I carefully selected a candidate and had children. It is strange. He clearly already has many children and was determined to divorce me right after my rebirth. Yet now that he knows the 2 children aren't his, he is still flying into a rage out of humiliation. What a temper he has. I smiled and said, "Sai Heng, Ling Yun, your father is about to die." The 2 children had just turned 3, but they were already very sensible. "Mom, you suffered in the past. In the future, without Dad, your good days have finally arrived." "Mom, Dad is a burden even when he is alive." Luo Yushang had long since become a burden to everyone. Luo Yushang was shouting something agitatedly. I soothed him. "Don't worry, when you die, I'll immediately have Su Wan buried with you." Luo Yuzhang looked at me as if he wanted to swallow me alive. I threw the 1,000-character classic that the 2 children use for learning to read at him. He raised his red, swollen, and pus-filled finger, grimacing in pain, but still gritted his teeth and flipped through 1,000-character classic. I looked at the words his finger pointed to. "Vicious woman, don't you dare harm Wan Wan." I chuckled lightly. I am not a saint. I sympathized with Su Wan, an orphan girl who could only depend on Luo Yuzhang. So, in my last life, before my wedding, I asked to meet her and solemnly promised that if she wanted to be a main wife, I would help her pick a good husband and give her a dowry. She said she didn't want to marry anyone else, so I prepared shops and manors in advance to give her for her security, just waiting until after I got married to give them to her, when she went through the ceremony to become a concubine. But she came up with a vicious plot to ruin my reputation, not leaving me any way to live. Later, after she and Luo Yuzhang rekindled their old flame, she even thought of bribing the midwife to kill me during my childbirth. I remembered who that midwife was, and in this life, when I wanted to deal with her, I found that she was delivering Rong Yue's baby, which is how I managed to save Rong Yue's life. This time, I sent Su Wan into the palace. The fight for favor in the palace is far more brutal than in the inner residence, but the current empress is tolerant. In the palace, she might not become fabulously rich and noble, but as long as she behaves herself, she can at least live the life of a master. But, at last year's palace banquet, she deliberately spilled wine on me, preparing to frame me for having an affair with a palace guard when I went to change clothes. She hated me for not doing my utmost to support her in currying favor, hated me for only fighting for my own noble title, and was also afraid that I would expose her secret affair with Luo Yuzhang from before she entered the palace. I looked at Luo Yuzhang. Su Wan wanted to kill you a long time ago. If you die, she'll only be happy, and no one will know about her past. When you weren't impotent, I didn't see you saving yourself for her either. Now that you know you have no way out, Who are you putting on this affectionate act for? Luo Yuzhang's ant venom sickness was getting worse and worse. He could only barely hang on until the day of Suwan's birthday. These days, more storybooks about him started appearing. Among the sisters who came to see me with Rong Yue that day, one was a talented lady who drew over a dozen pictures for the storybooks of Luo Yuzhang being bitten by ants, and they were extremely vivid and lifelike. The storybooks with illustrations sold out like crazy the moment they were released. I specially bought a few copies to show Luo Yuzhang. He was so angry his lungs were about to explode. My mother-in-law also saw the storybooks and was so ashamed she wouldn't leave the house for several days. When she secretly went to the pear garden, she accidentally got scared and broke her leg. I asked the Empress for a favor, to allow Suwan to leave the palace to visit my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was both scared and angry, but she didn't dare to disobey Her Majesty, the Empress. As always, I said affectionately, "Mother-in-law, I can't let my husband die with regrets. But don't let noble consort Wan know about my husband's condition. I am afraid she'll worry and give herself away." My mother-in-law nodded. Obviously, she had always known that Luo Yuzhang and Suwan were fooling around before the marriage. I gave a slight smile and had people carry out Luo Yuzhang, who was breathing out more than he was breathing in. He hunched his neck, trying hard to cover the sores all over his body. But Suwan was still so scared her face turned pale. She even turned around and gagged a little. Seeing Suwan's reaction, Luo Yuzhang shed tears, and then, ignoring the palace maids and eunuchs following him, he stared intently at Suwan, mouthing her name. Me mother-in-law was coughing desperately. Suwan was on pins and needles, but Luo Yuzhang still refused to restrain himself. I deliberately said in a low, sour voice, "My husband was delirious for the past few days and kept calling your name. I didn't expect it would still be like this today." Suwan became even more rigid. I don't know if Luo Yuzhang was crazily professing his love because he couldn't control his feelings before death, or if, just like in his past life, he was dragging someone down to hell with him now that all hope was lost. Anyway, Suwan finished him off first. I said that my mother-in-law was coughing constantly and I was worried about her, so I would personally escort her back to her room to rest. My mother-in-law kept pinching me. "Yinger, are you possessed? How could you let them meet alone?" My mother-in-law was afraid the eunuchs and palace maids would notice something was wrong, so she didn't dare to speak loudly. I turned a deaf ear. After settling my mother-in-law down and returning to the front hall, Suwan was standing to the side in terror. Just now, Luo Yuzhang suddenly fell over and died. "You killed him," I firmly demanded to report it to the authorities. Suwan didn't know that Her Majesty the Empress had also granted me a favor. She heard that I wished I could grab ants to bite me and get poisoned to test the medicine on myself, so she arranged for the imperial physicians in the palace to hold a group consultation for Luo Yuzhang. Just a moment before Suwan's carriage arrived at the Luo residence, the imperial physician had just left. The imperial physician said at the time that Luo Yuzhang could no longer move. He had taken too many medicinal pills, and the poisoning was too complex and deep. So, how could Luo Yuzhang have fallen out of his wheelchair by himself? Suwan had no way to defend herself. Besides, I had a coroner examine the body, and Luo Yuzhang died of suffocation. The fragrant powder found in his mouth and nose was only on Suwan's handkerchief. That year when Suwan was at the nunnery, she happened to learn a unique skill of blending fragrances. The emperor really likes the incense she blends, so she refuses to give it to others. When blending or burning incense, she has to send away all the servants and do it secretly. Suwan was placed under house arrest. Luo Yuzhang has not been buried yet. Right Chamberlain Wang Yanxi submitted a memorial, saying that Luo Yuzhang's wounds looked a bit like the symptoms of a plague he discovered when on a diplomatic mission to Tanzhou, and the Taoist priest who tricked Luo Yuzhang had a Tanzhou accent. In my last life, Tanzhou suffered a flood, and afterwards, a plague ran rampant. In the end, Luo Yuzhang deliberately led the plague victims into the capital, causing many common people to suffer. In this life, I plotted in advance against the Tanzhou prefect who embezzled the levy construction funds, and later also the disaster relief funds. And I also donated some extra silver, allowing the flood, releasing dams in places like Tanzhou to be completed on schedule. Even though the rains were heavier this year, with the dams, the flood didn't become a major threat. The epidemic was also just a small-scale outbreak, and I had long since had a doctor prepare a medicine to control it. Right Chamberlain, Wang Yanxi was one of the poor scholars I had previously connected with. I saved his hometown, Tanzhou, and also gave him the credit for stopping the epidemic in time. He was very willing to submit a memorial to the throne, using epidemic prevention as the reason, to request that Luo Yuzhang's body be burned. Thanks to the few drawings of Luo Yuzhang's skin ulcers made by the talented woman, His Majesty approved the memorial. The Empress said I had always been deeply devoted and faithful to Luo Yuzhang, so His Majesty specially bestowed upon me some rare treasures from the inner treasury to console me. The rewards were very generous, because the Right Chamberlain said that all of us who had been in contact with Luo Yuzhang also needed to be confined at home for 10-some days of observation to see if we would fall ill. Therefore, I, my mother-in-law, all of Luo Yuzhang's children, and even all the clansmen of the Luo family could not go see Luo Yuzhang one last time. Just as I said, Luo Yuzhang would be turned to ashes, leaving only a bad name behind. Me mother-in-law was dispirited for several days, then came again to get on my good side. Her own son was dead. She could only live by depending on my favor. However, I suddenly changed my attitude. On one hand, accusing my mother-in-law of being unkind, while on the other, suing Luo Yuzhang and Su Wan for fornicating before marriage, contacting mountain bandits, and plotting against my chastity. I wrote number with every word crying blood, saying I couldn't believe my beloved husband could have had such malicious intentions before our marriage. And even though he was already dead, I requested to be granted a divorce. As for the evidence, of course it was when I was sorting through my late husband's belongings that I found his and Suwan's love letters, the portrait he painted for Suwan, and the tokens they used to communicate with the mountain bandits. Matters related to Luo Yuzhang have always attracted attention, with so many people knowing that noble Lady Wan was unfaithful. The Son of Heaven was furious. Under a thorough investigation, they quickly found a mountain bandit who had escaped back then, who testified against Suwan. Suwan was sentenced to death, because she had also been in contact with Luo Yuzhang, and had even touched his sores. The Right Aid, Decamp dutifully submitted a memorial, saying that for the sake of disease prevention, Suwan should also be cremated. The emperor permitted it, when the empress had just married him as the crown princess. Someone had also tried to frame her for losing her chastity. There is no woman who doesn't detest such schemes. When I learned that Suwan had also been turned into charred, withered bones, only then did I laugh out loud. After all, I had been reborn. And Luo Yuzhang was also reborn after I poisoned him to death. There was no guarantee that Su Wan, who was also involved in this tale of love and hate, wouldn't be reborn. So I went to great lengths to make her thoroughly dead, so she couldn't do anything, even if she was reborn. The Empress took pity on me, and specially granted me a divorce to leave the Luo family. In her desperation, my mother-in-law had a stroke. She had already broken her leg and was having trouble with one side of her body. Now she was even paralyzed on one side, needing help to eat and use the toilet. However, without me providing for her life of luxury, the Luo family's meager assets were not nearly enough to pay for her medicine. At this moment, I said with great righteousness that I would still take care of my mother-in-law and Luo Yuzhang's concubines and children. In reality, I went to tell my mother-in-law, thank you for specially putting Luo Yuzhang into the ancestral hall. She finally knew my true colors. That night, my mother-in-law set fire to the Luo family's ancestral hall, burning it down along with herself, and along with the wooden door mechanism I had made when renovating the Luo family residence to allow free access to the hall, completely destroying all traces. For years after that, I raised Sai Hang and Ling Yun by myself. They both did me proud, and gradually, no one mentioned anymore that their father was Luo Yuzhang. He continued doing business as an imperial merchant. With experience from my past life, I managed to get a head start on some things. I donated most of the money I earned to build water conservancy projects or to buy medicinal herbs for the poor. As for Luo Yuzhang's children, according to their individual talents, I provided for them to either study the classics diligently or learn a trade. We weren't particularly close, but we didn't hold grudges either. As for Luo Yuzhang's concubines, I took the liberty of allowing them to remarry, or they could follow me to make a living. After my divorce, Rong Yue and I became even closer. Whenever we saw women who had been wronged, we would encourage them to get a divorce. If that wasn't an option, they should at least see through their husband's character and not be foolishly deceived any longer. When I grew old, many people still invited me to the spring banquets and double ninth banquets, where young men and women get to know each other to help the girls size up the men. I lived to 90, a very long lifespan. When I closed my eyes, I seemed to hear someone say, "Chu Ying saved tens of thousands of disaster victims." It wasn't in vain to let her foresee the future. I vaguely remembered after Luo Yuzhang caused our entire Chu family to fall ill. My parents both stepped forward and said they wanted to voluntarily test the medicine. We donated all the medicinal herbs we had hoarded. In the end, when medicine was ineffective, our family donated all our money, requesting the authorities to continue treating the plague victims, and also proactively requested that our bodies be cremated after our deaths to stop the spread. Zhuangzhou dreams of a butterfly. The butterfly dreams of Zhuangzhou. Rebirth foreseeing the future. It doesn't matter. I've lived this life satisfyingly enough.